next presenter, Toby Fox, he's a chief technologist for, technologist in residence for Civil. So I learned about Civil via a podcast. It's a podcast called Zigzag. It turns out the woman who was doing the podcast, Manoush Samarodi, she was my class in college and also was from my hometown and went to a competing school, rival school. And so I'm just talking with Toby in the back, and he says, oh, he's from Princeton, New Jersey. I said, oh, that's interesting. I went to high school in Princeton. We went to the same high school. He's a little younger than me, but we went to the same high school nonetheless. But what impressed me so much about the Civil project is that one of the things that inspired me, or when I think about the blockchain community, is that people that are in this space early are inspired by not just the technology, but the opportunity for what it can do to improve the lives of everyday people. And this project, Civil, is really focused on fixing something that is broken. We all know that journalism and social media have so many challenges, and so Civil is trying to attack this head on in a really novel way. So I'm really excited for you guys to learn about Civil and how collectively we can help improve our journalism and hopefully bring some greater transparency and accountability and objectivity back to our democracy. Toby Fox.
Yes. Well, looky here, what do we have? Another pretty thing ready for me to grab.
The journalism industry is in crisis. There have been a lot of dire headlines recently. Over 100,000 journalists have lost their jobs in the US since the turn of the century. That's more than half of them. Hedge funds buy struggling local newspapers and pull massive profits while laying off workers, stripping them of the ability to do their jobs. And when these news organizations shut down, there are measurable increases in inefficiency and corruption in governments and corporations. Global press freedoms are falling around the world and are at the lowest level that they have been since over a decade. And journalists face censorship, harassment, and arrest in countries like China, Egypt, Myanmar, and Turkey. Journalism is one of society's most vital institutions. It powers healthy communities and politics. It's how we see ourselves for who we really are. It's how we stay informed, self-directed, and in touch with each other's perspectives. When trust in this public institution falls and we lose this shared set of facts, it leaves an opening for misinformation and malicious actors, as we've seen, of course, with fake news and its influence in elections around the world. The business model of journalism is also collapsing. The ad industry, the ad revenue has been falling for a long time, and an increasing portion of it goes to platforms instead of directly to journalists. The result is that news organizations have to turn themselves into surveillance companies in order to extract as much money as possible from their readers to support themselves. As for subscriptions, the majority of reader subscriptions and memberships go to a handful of the biggest news organizations in the world. The result is that journalists and the citizens that rely on them are increasingly at the whim of platforms, indifferent owners, special interests, and hostile governments. At Civil, we are creating a new economy for journalism. This is an open platform owned directly by journalists and citizens who want to support ethical and trustworthy journalism. This is a community-driven governance system where citizens have a stake in how it works and receive economic rewards for improving the network, and bad actors are punished, essentially, financially in this system. It is also a suite of publishing and revenue tools so that creators can better capture the value that they create. And all of this is powered in large part by the Civil token. The Civil token is an ERC20 standard token on Ethereum built into the network to unlock its economic and governing utility. Today I'm going to talk about why we're using blockchain for this, how Civil works, and what this new economy looks like. Blockchain technology is uniquely able to solve a lot of the problems that the news industry is facing. Now, a lot of the journalists we work with know little or nothing about blockchain technology, but when we talk to them about these things, this is where they get excited. These are the things that help strengthen and protect media freedom and the quality of our media. A transparent, immutable ledger that cannot be retroactively altered lets us build tools to establish publicly verifiable paper trails behind journalism that builds accountability and trust with the public. When you combine this with cryptography and identity tools that are part of the ecosystem, we can protect journalists who are working under hostile regimes by preserving their identity and protecting their work against censorship. The trustless peer-to-peer interactions on blockchains help us build this financial and governance system and also let newsrooms have direct relationships with their readers without being mediated by a centralized platform. Civil is built with the Ethereum blockchain, and the smart contracts there let us put logic that is run in a globally shared execution space that is publicly verifiable so that we can build honest and trustworthy ways for creators to monetize their content. The result is a decentralized platform that does not exert editorial influence over itself, and no one actor is able to pull the rug out from under the system. So Civil is a big decentralized network, and here is a map of where everyone sits. On the left, we have the Civil Media Company. This is where I work as a technologist in residence, building tools for journalists and readers. The Civil Media Company is jumpstarting this ecosystem. We are a journalism company first and a blockchain company second. We came to this technology because we saw it would help us solve the challenges we were facing. Between our staff and partners, we have well over 100 years of experience as some of the most respected names in the industry, and we are backed by Consensus, which is the largest Ethereum venture studio in the world, founded by Joe Lubin, one of the co-founders of Ethereum. Another key part of this network is the nonprofit Civil Foundation. The Civil Foundation is made up of industry veterans, journalism academics, and free press attorneys from around the world. The Civil Foundation is a trusted, transparent body that is accountable to and elected by the community. The foundation directs grants into journalism projects and also helps in governance by performing research and acting as an appeals body. A central document that makes this work is the Civil Constitution. This is a document that outlines what we in the community believe constitutes ethical journalism. This is a document that was written in collaboration with the foundation and has gone through many public drafts where we've incorporated feedback from hundreds of people around the world. This is also a living document with public ownership. Civil token holders are able to propose and vote on changes to the Constitution. And newsmakers who wish to publish on the Civil Protocol must pledge to abide by its standards. Of course, a core component of the ecosystem are the newsrooms themselves. Newsrooms on Civil are organized in what's called a token-curated registry, or TCR. A TCR is essentially a community-curated list. In this case, it is a list of ethical and trusted newsrooms. A newsroom can be any news organization in the world, and the way this works is the TCR is instantiated on the Ethereum blockchain, where each newsroom is represented by a smart contract with its mission statement, its roster of journalists and their credentials, and pointers to all of the work that they've published on Civil. Anyone can apply to join this network by creating this newsroom smart contract, pledging to abide by the Civil Constitution, and staking $1,000 worth of Civil token. This stake is to demonstrate the seriousness of their intent and ward off spammers and bots. One of the ways that TCRs work is that token holders are incentivized to curate the system well as the value of the token rises if the registry is in fact a respected list of ethical newsrooms. To this effect, a token holder can mount a challenge against a newsroom if they believe that the newsroom is not abiding by the Civil Constitution. In order to do this, they state their reasons why, and then they also stake $1,000 worth of Civil token. This kicks off a vote among the community, as well as public discussion and research, where the community collaboratively tries to decide if this newsroom should be on or off the registry. At the conclusion of the vote, the tokens that were staked by the losing side are distributed to the winning side and the voters that voted with them. This further incentivizes token holders to do their due diligence and curate the network well. The Civil Constitution, in this case, works as a set of shared values that is as objective as possible for how to curate this network and what constitutes ethical journalism. In addition to the TCR, we are also building various publishing tools for journalists on Civil. You can see here a screenshot of one of our CMS integrations. This is an integration with WordPress that's launching next month. So when a Civil newsroom publishes content, these tools create essentially a fingerprint on the blockchain. This contains a timestamp and some metadata about the article, as well as a hash of the article text, and updates to the article over time create further fingerprints. This is a public paper trail of the work that was done on the article, and content on the web can be checked against the hash on the blockchain to ensure that it hasn't been tampered or altered in any way. Additionally, individuals who are involved in the creation of content can cryptographically add their signature to this fingerprint. So whether they are reporters or editors or a source that was interviewed for a piece, they can sign the article to say, I am who I say I am, I'm so-and-so, identified by my public key or my address, and I approve this message. In addition to giving us the ability to verify authorship and signal credibility, these tools let us protect reporters working under dangerous regimes. An anonymous or pseudonymous reporter can maintain a consistent identity across a body of work so that readers and editors can trust them and compensate them fairly while keeping them safe. The Civil Protocol also supports permanent distributed archives. We're doing this in 2 ways currently and intend to add more. One is with IPFS. IPFS is the Interplanetary File System. It is a distributed peer-to-peer protocol for storage. And we are also allowing our newsmakers to store the full text of their articles directly onto the Ethereum blockchain. To do this, we are inspired by Chinese activists who used a similar technique to store content to evade censorship of the Me Too movement in China. The way it works is that the full text of an article is compressed and added as an unused transaction input to the Ethereum transaction that creates the article publish. The result is that their content is saved on tens of thousands of Ethereum nodes around the world. Even in countries where the internet is controlled by the government, readers will be able to access this content through this network, which is too distributed to be censored or deleted. And this protects journalists' work not just from governments, but also from any powerful bad actor that may have taken a disliking to a publication or to a piece of work. I can't stress how critical this feature is for the journalists that we're working with, all of whom who have seen work disappear from the web, and many of whom worked at organizations that simply don't exist anymore. At this point, you might be asking, what does the civil network actually look like? So you can go onto the blockchain and look at the TCR and see the newsrooms there and information about them. You can do this with our DApp or third-party tools. And we intend on exposing public APIs with a fire hose of information of stuff that's published on Civil. But each newsroom runs its own show. They may have a website, they may have a publication, they may be incorporated somewhere, and readers can go directly to those newsrooms in order to consume their content. In this latter use case, you can think of membership on the Civil TCR as the SSL badge in your browser address bar. This is the little green padlock icon that lets you know that you are on a secure connection to a trusted website. We intend that membership of the Civil TCR will signal the same kind of credibility and trust with readers, who will know that the work of this newsroom has been vetted by an incentivized community. And this is a badge of trust that is backed up by programmatic tools that authenticate content that you see on the web against what's on the blockchain. This is only a small part of how this economy works. Having readers and journalists and their work and governance all connected together on a blockchain unlocks new business models for journalism. We do this in a large part with Civil tokens. So Civil tokens are not a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, which is a store of wealth or an alternative currency. The Civil token is a consumer token that's built to unlock a specific business framework. Users can use Civil token to support journalism directly without the need of a centralized platform with membership, micro-tipping, or crowdfunding. We've also recently partnered with the Associated Press, and together we're building blockchain-based tools to build more tools for creators to license their content with programmatic payouts upon publishing, smart contract royalties, and more. And this is just one example of how we can use smart contracts and blockchains to build better licensing tools, syndication, discovery, and curation. The result is a decentralized network where the Civil media company nor anybody else takes a cut of any transactions that happen there, and we don't charge anybody any fees. The Civil token, of course, is used for other things. It's how you start a newsroom on the TCR, and it's how citizens are rewarded for their engagement in the system, not just by curating that TCR, but also in proposing and voting in governance parameters, as well as other things that we in the community create as the system evolves, which could be incentivized user curation, markets of freelancers, and other things. Of course, most people don't know that much about crypto, and they don't have to. You don't need to own Civil token or Ether in order to be a part of this economy. all of the newsrooms currently on Civil accept donations and membership payments using credit cards in fiat currency. We expect that this will continue to be the case as newsrooms run their own businesses how they see fit. But those that want to be more engaged with the community and the creators who are creating journalism and developer tools for this will be transacting with each other in Civil Token. But everybody is part of the same economy, and the more people transact in it, the more it gains value and the more the economy grows. We currently have over 100 journalists that are publishing on Civil in over 10 different newsrooms. We're really proud of the diversity of this group of journalists. We have initially focused on local news, investigative reporting, policy reporting, and international news. These are a mix of for-profit and nonprofit institutions with various business models that we see in journalism. Some are free to read, powered by donations. Some have a paywall. Some have multi-tiered subscription models. And over half of these newsrooms are female-led. In particular, I want to call attention to Zigzag Podcast, which you just heard about, run by Manoush Zomorodi, who you may be familiar with from the podcast Note to Self. Zigzag is about its creator's entrepreneurial journey, and it's also about blockchain technology and Civil itself. We have hundreds of applications for newsrooms around the world that want to be want to apply to the TCR when it launches next month, and our goal is to have 1,000 newsrooms on Civil in the coming year. We are also excited about our partners, which are a range of industry experts, tech companies, nonprofits, universities, and partners in the blockchain space. I've already mentioned the Associated Press. Just to call out a couple others, we have recently partnered with Splice, who will be distributing a $1 million fund to kickstart 100 journalism startups across Asia. And we've also partnered with Neva Labs, who are building ethical curation tools for news feeds for readers. We're also proud of some of the coverage that we've received for this new model over just the last couple months. We appreciate the thoughtfulness and excitement, as well as the skepticism that we see in all of this reporting. The Civil token is how we make this decentralization happen. At the end of the token sale, the Civil media company will be divesting itself of its controlling stake in the network and handing it over to the community. Registration is open right now on Token Foundry, and the sale itself starts next week. The Civil token is not the next Bitcoin. We don't expect that you will become fantastically wealthy by buying it. In fact, we've structured our token sale in order to weed out speculators and investors, and we want to attract individuals and organizations that share our mission and want to see the network grow. We're excited to announce on Friday that 100% of the proceeds from the token sale will go directly to the nonprofit Civil Foundation to fund grants into journalism projects, grants that will be directed in large part by the community of token holders. So when you buy Civil token, you're not only buying into the economy and gaining the ability to shape its governance and how it works, but you are also directly supporting journalism. We envision all quality journalism, accurate information, and civil discourse happening on this protocol. And so as for the Civil media company itself, where I work, we are a venture-backed journalism and blockchain tech company building enterprise and self-service tools for this ecosystem, along with open source APIs and libraries to support the economy. The advent of the internet upended the journalism industry. In the resulting scramble over the last couple decades, a lot of compromises were made with advertisers, investors, and platforms, and the result saddled the industry with some perverse incentives. We've been working really hard and put a lot of thought into designing a system with healthy incentives built in from the start. And the result is a decentralized economy that lets journalists connect directly with their readers and with each other to build better business models, to support press freedom around the world, and to reestablish trust. This is a new way forward for the industry, and I'm really grateful to be a part of it as it happens, and I'm excited to share it with you here. Please get in touch or stay in touch. On our website, you can find more about our token sale. You can read our constitution, white paper, and learn about how Civil works. You can, of course, join us on our Telegram channel at join_Civil, where you can talk directly with us and other members of the community. And please check us out on GitHub, where you can see open source tools that make all the stuff I've described happen, and we welcome your collaboration. Thanks so much.